Howdy, guys. Welcome back to the Fi Guys podcast. This is a Friday episode, so you know it's going to be a special one. We're going to be recapping Monday's episode. If you didn't go back and listen to that, well, I highly recommend it, as always. But we're going to get a little bit philosophical today in the beginning. In the middle, we're going to be having a viewer mailbag. And at the end, we're going to have our wins of the week. But starting with the week, how was your week, Chris? Welcome in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's funny. We're going to get philosophical today on Friday, and I felt like we got very philosophical on Monday. But the week's been good. I actually just got back home from jujitsu, and man, I got the piss beat out of me today. Like it was bad. It was just like one fight. So normally we have whip class, and then after that, there's like 30 minutes of rolling afterwards. You just kind of go live fights, 5 minutes each round. So I had a few fights with upper belts, and I was like, I know these are going to be tough. And there was this one white belt. And I hadn't seen him roll the entire time. And as I was like, I think I'm done. He's like, hey, do you want to roll one time? And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And he's this big dude, but I'm pretty average sized. So I fight bigger guys than me like all the time. And I'm like, this will be fine. And I did not realize until like we touched that like this guy knew what he was doing. And he told me afterwards that he was a collegiate level wrestler. And man, I didn't see it coming. There was nothing I
Oh,
could do.
no. That's terrible. So, in far as belts go, like how does that work? For those who don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, you come into jujitsu. It doesn't matter what your background is. You start out as a white belt, and this guy, I think this was like his third class, so he was a fresh white belt. So I hadn't watched him, I hadn't seen him roll or anything. So I just assumed like it's a white belt. Typically, what you do if you're an upper belt when you're with a white belt is you kind of go slow and you feel it out. But the moment that we like locked up and I felt him, and then he did something called an elbow shuck, and I didn't see it coming, and I was like, oh no, this guy knows what he's doing. And then from there, it was just like it was just straight survival for 5 minutes of like me just trying not to die.
That's
So
insane.
that was
That's
fun.
insane. The way I picture it, I'm like a big burly like Midwestern farm boy who's like a really good wrestler who's been wrestling hogs his whole life. That's who I imagine is just you're battling with. So maybe
Probably. He was a big guy. And that's hard when someone's out of a gi, you can't tell how big they are. And it was afterwards he takes off his gi. I'm like, oh,
oh, 10 pack. Good
like I
lord.
lived.
That's freaking awesome. Well, beautiful. I'm glad to see you're alive. We're here to talk about some philosophy. We're here to talk about the art of noticing a little bit from the famous commencement speaker. Um, and I'm excited. Let's just get right into it, Chris. Where do you want to start with this one?
For sure. Yeah. So if you haven't listened back to Monday's episode, we talked about David Foster Wallace's commencement speech to, I think it was Kenya University back in
Yes.
2005. And in that speech, it's really, I would say, I recommend it. We're going to link it down in the show notes. Like, listen to that speech. And I would say listen to it multiple times to like really soak in the knowledge because there's so much. And if you're listening to it at the beginning, you might be like, this is silly. But when he kind of gets into it, like, I think every one of us will see ourselves somewhere in that speech and realize the way that we automatically go through life kind of on this default setting and how important it is to get off of that default setting and to really be the one in control of your life and the control of your destiny and in the control of giving meaning to events. Because all events have the ability to be profound moments if you choose to give it that meaning.
That's a very high level way to live, right? For most people, I mean, most people are, I don't want to say, I don't want to be mean, but with most people are asleep, we'll say. Most people are asleep to the habits and the happenings that are going on around them. And if you have watched the speech, you know, he opens with this little kind of joke, but it's a great way to kind of frame the whole speech where, you know, there's a current, there's a river, right? There's a fish, there's two fish, two young fish just graduated, and there's like an elder fish, right? And the elder fish swims by the younger fish, and he's like, how's the water today, boys? And then, you know, they like keep swimming, and the two younger fish are like, what is water? What is water? Because they're fish and they don't know what water is. But that's a very simplistic way of kind of thinking about it because us as humans, we live a very similar way, don't we, Chris? I mean, all times of our life, the current, right, or society or the way it's done is kind of pushed upon us in ways that we kind of don't know, right? It was kind of pushed upon me that I have to go to school, that I have to dress this way, that my hair has to be this messy, right? Essentially. Um,
No,
So
you're
what?
exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
we're born into our we're born into our bodies, and that already comes kind of predetermined in a lot of ways. The way we're going to be predetermined by our parents and where they were, and your mother's pregnancy. Like all of these things have something to do with it. And then we're born into this family, and this family has all these messages from its previous families. And then we're also born into a society and into a culture and into all these things. And I think until we have the ability to wake up and realize it doesn't have to be this way, it could have been a myriad of other ways. I think for me, travel has been one of the biggest ways to kind of open my eyes to seeing like, just because this is the way we do it here, this is the way that we all think this is the water we're in, each other culture is in completely different water. So sometimes you might look at like global politics and be like, I don't understand why these two countries can't get it together. And then we can even take it local. Like, why can't these two states get it together? Why are they so different? And it's because the cultures, the water they're in is so different that when they're arguing about things, they're arguing like their first principles aren't even aligned because they see the world fundamentally different because they're in different water without realizing it and without being able to take a wider perspective and see that my water is different than your water. And that's okay. We can never really move forward. That's why I always say it. And like, I think this is one of the most important things that someone could take away is if you are someone that wants to get online and like argue with people, or you're someone who finds yourself constantly fighting battles with other people, I think the first thing that you want to do is before you even start the argument, like you feel that bubbling up, someone says something, you're like, I need to smack this person down. They need to learn the way that I see things. Is first you need to take a step back and you want to ask them, hey, what world are you going towards? What is your end goal? Because sometimes you might find that the people that you're arguing with, ideally they have the same end goal and they just see the way that we get there is different. But sometimes you might realize that somebody has a completely different end goal than you. And it doesn't matter how much you argue and fight. If you guys aren't aligned on that first principle, you will never be able to convince somebody of anything. For example, if someone says like, I don't know, I think that we should like we should enslave all people. It'd just be a lot easier if we went to like robots were in charge. And then you have to ask them like, okay, well, what world do you want to see? Because in my world, I want to see a world where the most human flourishing, the most life flourishing that we possibly can. And if they're like, oh no, I don't care about that. Like I want the robots to rule. It doesn't matter like how much we argue back and forth. Our first principles are completely unaligned.
Heard the robot argument. I don't know. It's Skynet vibes going on right now. But no, I agree, and I'm curious to see your thought on. Do you think everybody is living in their own kind of current, as you say with the fish argument? They're all living in their own current with their own pond, or is it more like people are like there's a large portion in this pond, and there's a large portion in this pond, and there's kind of how would you do you know you kind of get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I would kind of think it's something like this. Like I want you to imagine like you're in a fishbowl, right? Or like, you ever go to the fish store and you get like a bag of water? You get one of those
Yeah,
fish and they're in a bag of
yeah,
water.
yeah.
Like that's you, and you're in that bag of water. And then when you need to get introduced in society, your bag of water is submerged in the normal tank, and that might be culture. And then you get acclimated to it, and then eventually they cut open the bag and you just kind of fall into it. And then imagine that that fish tank is inside of a larger pond of water and a larger thing of water, a larger thing of water, and then like at the end that the big water is like the full ocean, which might be like all of human consciousness, all of consciousness in general. And I kind of think that yes, you are in your own water and you're in all of this other water that we all kind of share into larger and larger and smaller groups.
So, what would you say is the first step for a little Nemo, a little fish like us, right, to start waking up and seeing the world around us, seeing the quote unquote water, seeing how society is starting to shape you? How do we kind of wake up to that? Because I know that's who, one of the things for me, who's someone who wants to help more people and bring more people along for the journey, but a lot of the times they just don't want to be led, right? Like the age old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but doesn't mean he's gonna drink it, right? I've heard renditions of that quote too, where it's like you can lead him to water, you can also starve him and dehydrate him, and then like make sure he's in a desert and bring water. And it's like, yeah, well, I guess if you create the certain circumstances, but that's another.
I think you just answered the question there. It's create the circumstances. Like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But if you make them thirsty, they'll drink on their own. I think you and I both, we want to be able to lead people, want to be able to help people, but you can't help someone that fundamentally does not want your help. So the only thing you can do is live the best life that you can showing them that there is another way, and hoping that maybe one day they will come to you with the question of like, how do I do it? And it all begins with that first initial question. There is a problem. Maybe the problem is not the world. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe the problem is that the way that I'm seeing things. And that is what the speech David Foster Wallace says, "This is water," is really getting at, is that you individually get to assign meaning to things. Things just aren't the way that they are because you perceive it that way. You are consciously or maybe unconsciously giving meaning to everything. And you have the choice to think about your thinking and to see it in a different way. There's a part in the speech where he talks about, you're driving home on the freeway and there's all these big, dumb trucks all in your way and big Hummers. And you're sitting there like, I can't believe they're consuming all of this fuel and it's destroying the earth and all this stuff. And I can't believe this guy's driving like a maniac. But in truth, that guy who's in that Hummer may have been in a car crash at one point. And the reason they drive that Hummer is because that's the only way that they can drive to feel safe. And maybe there's a kid in the back seat of that guy's car who is bleeding out and he needs to get that kid to the hospital. And if that's the case, you are in his way. And I'm not saying that the world is the way that that is. And that's probably not even a true story, but you can choose to see it that way. Or you can choose to see that this person is a jerk who cut me off because I am the center of the universe. And if that's the way you want to go through life, it will be more difficult. And I think that the most important thing is you have to realize the thoughts we have and the way we go through life, you have to ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this helping me advance? Is this helping me to live the best life that I can? Or am I just getting upset the whole way through because people don't realize that I am the most important person in the world? Because everyone is focused that they are the most important person.
A lot of people have different coping mechanisms. It's drugs, alcohol, food, right? But I was thinking about this and I feel like sometimes for a lot of people, it feels really, really good to play the victim. And that is their, well, like that they are drawn to it. That's what's kind of called to them. Some of us have addictions, right? But that is their vice. And I think I totally agree with what you're saying. Like you can choose to see the glass half full or half empty. You can choose to see it's like, oh, the guy's driving crazy, maybe because obviously there's a medical emergency, or maybe he's just a tool, right? He's just a tool. He's a tool on his way to Home Depot, right? Um, but like you said, it's tough to break people out. And man, it's interesting because you can't break people out. And it's so disappointing.
Yeah. Like Morpheus said, some people aren't ready to wake up. And all you have to do is be okay with that and be on your path and wait for them. I think you're right. It is easier. It's easier. If you want to have an easier life, be on the default setting. Just go through life. Just on your default setting. Don't question anything. Just go through life. Whatever you feel, think, and believe, that is accurate. That is truth. Capital T, truth. Or you can live a meaningful life. A meaningful life where you get to explore, where you get to grow, you get to become a better person. And hopefully at the end of it, leave this world with more wisdom than you came into it. And that's the harder choice. So I can understand why most people choose to play the victim. They choose to be in that default setting because it's easier, because it's scary to go into the world to question all of these things. It's a lot easier to play the victim. It's a lot easier to be angry at people. We as human beings, we enjoy anger. You enjoy that low level of anger. We've had psychological experiments where we attached electrodes to people, different parts of people's brain. And the thing that you would think they would be pressing, you think would be pressing serotonin, dopamine, these things that would like make you feel good. And what you end up finding is they end up just pushing that low level of irritation, because that low level of irritation, it releases that dopamine response. And when people think of dopamine, they think of good, but what dopamine really does is it seeks. It gives you a direction with certainty. This is where I must go. And in life, a lot of people don't know where they're going. So when you're angry, you have this outlet, you have this individual, this person, or this group right in front of you that you know they are the problem. 1000%. That is the default setting. You have the ability to question that and say, is this really true? And maybe if you're lucky, you'll realize it's not. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll realize that the problem is me. The problem is the way that I'm relating to the issue. The problem isn't the problem, it's the way that I see the problem. And that's not to say that there aren't problems, because there are. But just because a problem is a problem to you does not mean that it's a problem to somebody else. That doesn't mean that either one of you are right. And that doesn't mean that either one of you are wrong. It's just different. depending on your goal, depending on your values.
So it's a matter of making life easier through a better lens, essentially.
I think that's the best thing we can do is try to reduce human suffering, to try to make things easier in this life, to try to make sure that we live the best life that we can. And again, we get to assign that meaning.
I think that's really interesting too, because what we're trying to change is how we see the pain and suffering rather than changing the pain and suffering, right? That might be an argument some people would make, right? But it's probably a lot easier to change the pain and suffering if we can deal with the pain and suffering in a more efficient and beneficial way. So before you kind of jump to it, it's like, that's not changing the problem. It's like, totally agree, right? But before you fight a fire, you put on a fire. You know, if you're a firefighter, you don't just run out in like your dress shirt and go fight a fire. No, you put on your fire suit, your helmet, your oxygen, and then you go fight it because that's the best way to fight the fire. And the best way to fight the cruelty of the world, the negativity of the world, the chaos and trouble and trials and tribulations of the world is to see it through the lens that benefits you most and is most efficient for your goals. Maybe your goal isn't to lead a happy life. Maybe you want to suffer. Maybe you're a real sick, masochistic kind of guy, you know, not sure. Why not? Maybe that's seeing the world in a positive light isn't for you, right? But for the rest of us, we are trying to live the happiest life for as long as we can and make the most of it. And I like this speech. I'm gonna be listening. This one's gonna be on the repeat. Maybe I'm gonna revisit it like every first of the month and see what I kind of get from it. It's 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Eh, What's 22 minutes in the grand scheme of a month, right?
Listen to it on 2 times speed. It's 10 minutes and you're done.
Exactly. Exactly. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on to our mailbag for the recap of this speech?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is in life, I think everyone needs meaning. And I think that's where a lot of people get so hung up, especially let's take this back to financial independence because we are the Fi Guys, right? I think in life, we go through life and we make money, we spend money, we make more money, we spend more money. And at the end of the day, we come home and we feel lost. We feel like, what's the point of all of it? And maybe the reason that you feel that you have this underlying sense of anguish, underlying sense of like, what's the point is because you're doing something that the culture told you to do. You're doing something that the default setting is rather than your settings. So by being able to go back to your values and make sure that we align not only our spending, but also our life, our time, our relationships, all within the framework of what you want for your life. And no one gets to tell you what is right and what is wrong. They're just different. And I think there's too many people that go out online, that go to you in person and tell you with certainty, this is the way that you must live. And all they're saying in truth is, this is the way that I live. And if you don't agree with it, then that's a you problem because I'm clearly the center of the universe. And they are fish stuck in water too. And once you're able to see through that, to see that everyone is just in their own little bag of water and we're all submerged in here until you realize like, oh, I can cut this bag open. I can get out and I can see the wider perspective. You're going to suffer a lot. Let's just try to make this as easy of a journey as we possibly can so that we can try to free other people from the matrix, from their little plastic bag, and let them be a part of the collective, a part of everything. Because no one comes into this world and no one leaves this world alone.
Well, I hope you guys go and change yourself and change others, even though it's kind of difficult to change others. But I hope you guys at least go and watch the video we're referencing, the art of noticing.
It's called This Is Water by David Foster Wallace. It'll be linked down below in the description.
Perfect. I love it. Well, with that being said, mailbag time.
Let's do it.
Mailbag time. We need a theme song. It's like, we just got a letter. Little Blues Clues reference. I swear, I'm an adult. Anyway, welcome back to the Five Friday Feedback. This is the part of the podcast where someone from the community messages in, we give them feedback, and you guys get to come along for the ride. So let's get into today's letter mailbag. Howdy, Fi Guys. I am 27, and to be honest, here we go.
Here it goes.
I feel like I'm drowning right now. Here we go. You know, last week you said that there's a theme, and I'm starting to see that theme pop up already. I feel like I'm drowning right now. I'm unemployed. My savings are shrinking, and I can't shake the feeling that everyone else has life figured out except for me. Hmm. My friends are climbing the career ladder, buying houses, starting families, and posting those polished milestones online. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here refreshing job portals, sending out resumes into the void, and collecting rejection emails like it's my new hobby. Oh, and
I've
there.
been there.
Yep. It's not like it's not like I've never worked before. I've had jobs, retail, office gigs, freelance projects, but none of them felt stable or meaningful. Now, it feels like I've pieced together years of experience that don't actually add up to anything that matters on paper. The worst part is the worst part isn't even the unemployment. It's the spiral, the mental loop of comparison, shame, self-doubt. Sometimes I get bursts of motivation, but I don't know where to channel it. Other days, I wake up and feel paralyzed. Like sending one email is like climbing a mountain. Can't help but wonder, did I waste my 20s? Did I miss some secret roadmap that everyone else seems to have? I want to believe that it's not too late. We're going to ban that. We're going to ban that part from all future mailbags. Is it too late? Promise you it's not too late. I want to believe that it's not too late, that I still have time to build something worthwhile. But the pressure is heavy and it is real. And it is all in the mind. If either of you have ever been in a place like this, where you're feeling stuck behind or that your life is in neutral while the world is speeding past you, I'd love to hear your story. Maybe I just need proof that this stage isn't the end, but a messy middle before the turning point. Thanks for reading from Behind the Line. Will I be fine? Because I'm feeling the coast. I'm feeling the cost of being lost. Well, he's 27.
He's done.
He's at the end of it. I mean, this is like 1737. I mean, that's 27. That's pretty old. I mean, you're finished at
Yep, good luck.
respawn.
That's
Good
it.
luck. Yeah, we gotta respawn. I'm gonna cut the mailbag right there. We're gonna win of the week. Um, no, clearly there's plenty of time left. 27. You're a child. You're essentially a child still. Even if you were 30, right? Even if you were 35, 40, you're a child, right? In the grand scheme of things, right? And it's ironic because I'm right around that age too. So it's child calling another person a child. But there is no secret roadmap. I mean, everything you see on social media is a lie. Everything you see anywhere is usually a lie. And, don't trust humans and just judge yourself based on who you were yesterday.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things nowadays, right? Is our new normal is just comparison. And it makes everyone feel like they are broken. Like everyone else has this stuff, and I'm the only one who is uniquely me, uniquely special, and can't figure it out. I have a friend, a really good friend who is a what is it called? OBGYN. So they deliver babies and all the good stuff, right? And one of the things that she will tell me is every so often, you'll run into somebody that is very afraid, very scared, and like they think like my pregnancy is this like unique pregnancy and I can't handle it. Like I'm the most special person in the world. And it might not be the nicest thing, but every so often she'll just tell them like, what makes you so special that your pregnancy is different than all the other pregnancies in all of history, that you can't make it through it. Everyone else has gotten through it, or not everyone, but like majority of people, everyone that's come into this world means that somebody else made it through it, but you can't make it through. And sometimes you see like the common pain, the common anguish, the common struggles that we all have. Then you can see that, oh, this is just the way. This is normal. In fact, telling everyone that my life is perfect, that I don't have issues is abnormal. So for our listener, first I want to tell you, like, you're not broken. You're 27 years old and feeling behind is common. It's common into your 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s. It doesn't stop, but it's usually because you're measuring yourself against somebody else's scoreboard and somebody else that's only showing you their wins. And now you get to compare your insides, all the feelings that you have inside you, all the reasons that you are where you are against external stuff that you have no idea what's going on behind the lie. Most of people's wins you see online are just the highlight reels. they're not the full game. I don't go to ESPN and watch like watch like the highlights and be like, man, I missed the best game ever. Because it could have been 60 minutes of nothing and they're going to cut it down to the best 5 plays. Comparison is a thief of joy. I'm going to take it a step further. On said comparison is the thief of joy. Friends buying houses, friends climbing the corporate ladder, friends posting family pictures, random people posting family pictures and all those things doesn't mean they're happier and more secure than you are. Many people, and I can tell you this as a financial consultant, advisor, and coach, are drowning in debt, stress, or they're in golden handcuffs. So I don't want you to mistake their emotion for meaning. Because a lot of us, we feel if I had the money, then I would feel the way that I think they feel. And you have to realize how many times I had to say think. And then you realize that if I'm thinking something, if I'm saying this is the way it should be, that's just a story. I'm just making up a story willy-nilly and believing the BS that I told myself. You have to be able to reframe that I lost as I'm between chapters. Like you're not failing in any way, shape, or form. You're in a transition. Unemployment is not permanent unless you make it permanent. So it's a phase where you get to decide what your next moves are. But that means that you have to continually try and be disciplined and beat that motivation and take that motivation and put it at something. You have to build structure before you build success. Without having like a daily anchor, a daily something, it's easy to start to spiral down. So I want you to set up a simple routine. And that means you have to wake up at a set time every day, block off 2 to 3 hours where you're just job searching or trying to get your skills better. That gives yourself permission to rest and create something. That's what you need. Because again, discipline beats motivation. Motivation wanes. But discipline is something that can keep on going indefinitely. If you're stuck in between jobs right now, it's a terrible job market. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what the job boards say. It's not good. And that's just, we're all in the same boat. So I want you to audit your skills, not just the jobs that you've applied for. Forget the resume titles for a minute. What problems have you solved? And what skills do you bring to the table? Because you have the ability to package those differently and change how you see yourself and how employers see you. Because it starts with the way you see yourself is the way that you can market yourself to other people. And you have the ability now with AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, to be able to go there and make your resume be amazing and tailored to every single job based off of your things. You just have to teach them what you want. And here's another pro tip. I would recommend telling the AI to make sure that my resume can be easily read by AI. Because the old way of making a really nice looking resume doesn't work anymore because it always ends up going through an AI filter. So try to make your resume as boring as possible. But I digress. The biggest thing that you need to do is you need to start with the small wins. If you can only apply to 3 jobs a day, not 30, that's okay. If you need to just take it from learning 1 new skill online a month, and that does, or if you have to volunteer or do some freelance work to rebuild your confidence and your momentum, I want you to realize that wins stack up faster when you focus small. And if you keep on getting those wins under your belt, you're going to feel like you're making progress. Dominic, do you have anything to say?
I think you touched on something absolutely brilliant right there. You said, go volunteer, right? Go get some more skills, go get some more things, right? If you feel like you are not where you're supposed to be, if you feel like you are in trouble, that you're falling behind, go volunteer. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen, at a homeless shelter, at, feeding America somewhere, right? You'll see what behind looks like. You'll see what pain looks like. You'll see what real suffering looks like. And you'll start to understand that, hey, I actually am fine, right? When I went and volunteered on Thanksgiving to give Thanksgiving meals to people that were underprivileged, it changed my life. Genuinely, it was one of those moments that stuck with me. How excited for something that's, you know, $100 worth of groceries, a turkey, all the fixings, right? It meant the world to them. And it stick with me this whole time, right? So whenever I'm in like a bad situation, it's like, well, guess what? Both my parents are still alive. That's pretty awesome. I would give pretty much anything and everything to be right where I am right now. And having an attitude of gratitude is what's going to help you get back to where you need to be mentally. Yes, I agree. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
had to say it that, if you are in a bad spot, right, and you don't have a job, right, and like Chris said, you're 2, 3 hours a day sending out resumes, be of use in the community as well. Go volunteer. I mean, if your time isn't being used up, be useful still, because there's a lot of people who need help, and that really, it could really impact not just you, but everyone around you. And I just wanted to press that. And also, if you do have a job, continue learning and building skills like every month. That should be like a given as well. Like just because you have a job, don't get comfortable, please. That's how you stay in the job for like 50 years.
And the nice thing about volunteering is you don't know where it can end up. You don't go to volunteer to get a job, but like they very often can turn into jobs or into skills that make you better. So the most important thing you need to do is invest in others and invest in yourself. You have the ability in this day and age to read books, podcasts, online courses, just play with ChatGPT or any AI all day and just go down the rabbit hole. Because right now the job market is terrible. That's just the way it is. And I guarantee you the job market will change. And the skills that you build today will begin to compound for you for life. Your 20s have not been wasted and they are not a waste. They're the training grounds. Even the quote unquote bad jobs taught you about what doesn't fit for you. And that's valuable data that most people ignore because they end up going from the same thing over and over and over again without ever realizing that the problem is them. The problem is that they keep on putting themselves inside the same shitty situation over and over and over again and not understanding that they're the ones doing it to themselves. You still have time. People reinvent their careers in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s. I've done it. I mean, I'm only in my 30s. I've reinvented my career like 3 times. To feel, the pressure you feel is real. Like the way that you feel right now, it's real and everyone is going through it. But that also means that it's a signal that you care about where you're headed. And that's a good thing. Because what you don't want to do is what I see when I work with some young people is that they just have a sense of nihilism of what the hell is the point of any action beats rumination. When we're stuck ruminating, scared about what we're going to do, that's what ends up spiraling us down. But if we take any action, even if it's just getting out of bed, going to work, applying for a job, it makes you feel better and it shows you that you are the person that can do something about it when there's a problem. So when in doubt, just do something. Send one application, take a walk around the block, write one page of something. Action creates momentum and momentum kills that death spiral of thinking about yourself, thinking that everyone is in a better place than you are, because I guarantee you they're not. We're all putting out the highlight reels. The only thing that's abnormal is that everyone tries to convince you that they are normal. So you're 27, you got a lot of life left to live. I hope that from these viewer mailbags, people are really saying that like we're all struggling with the same things because I feel like every week is the exact same thing from people who are younger and younger and younger, older and older and older. Just because you're going through it, it does not make you special. And that should be that should be alleviating to know that,
Agreed.
oh, we're all in it. And that's okay.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for our viewer mailbag section of the podcast. We're going to be moving on to our win of the week. For our win of the week, closing out the week, my win of the week is that I have a sourdough starter that I kind of went on vacation. I didn't feed. And, 1 week turned into 2 weeks, 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, 4 weeks went by, have not fed my sourdough starter. So I kind of had to do some research, teach myself, right, how to save a sourdough starter, emergency save, emergency feed, as they called it. And I ended up feeding it, right, like 4 times over, like, so basically what I had to do was, 1-to-1 ratio, feed it every 12 hours, just get it back to where it needs to be, right? And, it's kind of interesting. Somebody that I work with, I was telling them, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited. Like, I saved my sourdough starter. I'm going to make sourdough bread later tonight. And they're like, why? You could just buy a loaf for $5. I'm like, and it messed me up for like a day and a half. It's like, why? I was like, I know I'm going to make it. There was never a question of if, but when. Like, I'm gonna make the sourdough bread. And I'm like, well, why? It's because I choose to. I choose to. When I'm 80, I don't want to say like, yeah, like my grandkids come up to me like, can we make bread? It's like, let's just go buy it. Like, no, I want to make it. I'm not going to look back on my life and be like, wow, I bought a lot of bread. It's like, no, I used to make my own bread. Like, that's so much cooler. And life is about learning. If everything's done for you, then what's the point? Some of the saddest people in the world happen to be kids of very rich parents, right? They have nothing to do because everything's done for them. I love making bread. And let me tell you, my win of the week was that freaking sourdough was perfect. It was so good, which is such a good feeling because I try a lot of new recipes here and there, and most of them are not good, right? Most of them are not good, but this one was a freaking one. So I was very happy about that. That being said, trying a sourdough pizza dough, ass, ass. I was pissed. I've never been so angry in a kitchen in my whole life. I was like up here riding high, and I went right back to the devil's den. So yeah, not gonna make sourdough pizza again. Kind of sucks. Did not rise. Makes sense. But anyway, dead serious on a complete side note. Kind of. The pizza was so bad that one I didn't even try it because the dough was like raw still. And I ended up just ordering pizza from Sardella's. So big shout out to Sardella's. Anyway, that is my win of the week. Sorry, took up a lot of time with that one, but had to get that off my chest.
This is just your therapy session, isn't it?
At this point, yeah, I got a 5-minute therapy session at the end of every pod. What's your win of the week, Chris? What do we got for this week?
So this week, tomorrow, actually, my wife and I are headed to Hawaii for 10 days. And while we're there, my parents are actually going to be there for 5 days overlapping in the same hotel. So we're going to be able to hang out with my parents. Like, we can't hang out with them here in San Diego. So let's go hang out in Hawaii, I guess. But it'll be really fun just to get some time with me and my wife, tropical island, all that stuff. But while I'm gone, don't worry, the podcast will continue. We have a special guest coming next week to be here on Monday and Friday. And then after that, if you watch us on YouTube or on Spotify, I will probably be a lot darker than I currently am. And that's saying something because I'm already pretty dark. We'll have some fun out there in Hawaii. It's right now is not the best time for surfing and everything because it is winter, but it'll still be good just to get out there and have some fun. It's always nice to go hiking and have some really good food. So I'm very excited to get out of here.
It's a pretty stellar win of the week, my friend. Well, that's going to be it for us on today's episode, boys. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a like and share it wherever you wish to share it, whether that's friends, coworkers, bulletin boards, text message groups, all that fun stuff. That being said, I'm Don. He's Chris. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.
Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.